Let's get straight into it and offer something that's going to help you function amongst the chaos. Most people don't ask for what they want. They hint, they hope, they blame, and then they wonder why life keeps serving them confusion and conflict. Today I'm going to show you the one simple speaking move, the request, that can clean up your chaos, build clarity, and get things actually moving. That's a promise. Back in my early days of business, I'd walk out of tender interviews for contracts, having agreed to things I didn't actually want to do. Now, I thought I was negotiating, but really, I just wasn't making clear requests. And then what would happen is I would resent myself for not speaking up. Now, once I changed that, we started to win much better contracts on better terms with a lot less stress. And ironically, I started to do a lot less because I was finally speaking up for what we needed and what we wanted. So stick around and we're going to break down what a real request really is, the 5 things that make it really powerful, real world examples in life and business, and the biggest trap people fall into that kills momentum without them even realizing. Because from my experience, people don't ask clearly. They hint, they hope, they guilt trip, they expect others to just know, and when they don't get what they never really clearly asked for, they do things like blow up, shut down, or stew in silent resentment. I'm Filimon. This is a series on functional chaos. I'm here to make ontology simple because I think most of what's out there is often too academic, too clean, and frankly, too boring for people to want to change their lives or their way of being, how they turn up in the world. So let's fix that, starting with how to make a request for something that you want. Because if you want to change anything in life, it all starts with how you ask. A clean request is when you ask someone to do something clearly, directly, and with intent. When we make a request, what we are doing is we're taking care of concerns that we have. We are asking others for their help, their support, and their assistance. It's not passive, it's not implied, and it's not wrapped up in people pleasing. This is one of the most powerful linguistic moves that you can make. Alan Seiler from the Newfield Institute, he pretty much put it perfectly. He said, requests are at the heart of coordination of action. And without the coordination of action, nothing moves, because what are life's possibilities and opportunities without the coordination of action? So how do you actually do it? Well, let's get into it. Here is the anatomy of a clean request, and there are 5 things required. Firstly, we need a speaker. Obvious one, that one. And now this is the person who is making the request. The second thing is a listener. Now this is the person who you are asking. We obviously need one of them. Things start getting a little bit more muddier now. Number 3 is an action. What exactly do you want them to do? This is where people don't really get specific. The 4th thing, it's a time frame. Another thing people are not specific with. So when do you specifically need it done by? Not sometime next week or this afternoon or whatever it is. We're leaving ourselves open for a poor response there. And the 5th and the last thing, the conditions of satisfaction. What does done properly look like? So that's really it. Simple, easy peasy. However, most people skip at least 2 of these, and it's not the first one or the second one. And then they wonder why people don't follow through. Something really important when making a request is you're wanting to get either of these 4 responses. A yes, which is a commitment or an agreement. A no, a clear boundary. Number 3 is a counter offer. I can't do this, but you know what? I can do that. And number 4, the last one, is a commitment to get back to you by an agreed time. It sounds like, let me check and I'll get back to you by 5 p.m. I will go through all of these in detail in the next video. However, knowing these responses helps you when you're making a request. You're not pinning the person down. If you think like that, you may as well never ask for anything. Keep tiptoeing through life and then complain that no one ever helps you. By expecting one of those 4 responses, what you are doing is you're framing your request a lot more clearly. And you're being okay with how the person responds because it's a legitimate response. They're being very clear with it. Like I said, I'm going to dive deeper into this in the next video because it is attached to this one. Not exactly one of the basic linguistic acts, one of the 6 speaking habits, but somewhat a part 2 to this video here. So make sure you don't miss it. Moving on, why do requests matter so much? Put simply, they are how we coordinate action, how we get done. No request, no progress. No request, no clarity. No request, no real leadership. No request, geez, request, say that 3 times. It kind of gets tongue twisting. But no request, the answer will always be no. In business, how does this look? A clean request equals performance and accountability. In relationships, clean requests equal less drama and fewer assumptions. In life, clean requests equal momentum and certainty. This one linguistic action can literally change everything if you learn to apply the 5 steps. I remember years ago, I told a friend that I needed his advice on something I should do about a difficult client that was always looking to screw us over. My gosh, that was vague. He was levels above this particular person, and for me, his experience really mattered. I was certain he would anticipate the cards that this difficult client was holding. Now, from me, it was a very sloppy request, and my friend gave me his opinion. It's what I asked for at the end of the day. And his opinion did not suit my situation because I wasn't clear, things got muddy. And what happened was we argued about it over the whole dinner. Nothing got sorted, and I was pissed off at him, thinking he didn't want to help me. Why did this happen? Because my request had no substance. What I wanted to ask him, but I didn't know how, was this person keeps trying to X. And it's starting to cost us a hell of a lot of money and time. Tomorrow, can I send you the correspondence that we have between us? That way you're going to have context. And then can you get back to me by Friday morning because I want to clear things up before we move on to the next part of the project. Just covered it all, so simple. If I asked like that, of course he would have helped me. And how do I know this? Because he's proved it to me time and time again over the years, once I learned how to ask. Let's look at how this example plays out by offering some other differences between sloppy and a clean request. In a personal situation, the sloppy way could sound like, hey, can you help me out later? What does help even mean? When's later? What's the actual task? The clean way. Can you pick up the kids from school today by 3:15? And message me once you've got them, please. How does a sloppy request look like in a business setting? Okay, the sloppy way. Can you make sure the client is sorted by the end of the week? What does sorted mean? Which client? Specifically when? What's the end of the week? What outcome is needed? How would that sound in a clear way? A nice, powerful request. Can you please send the final proposal to the Johnsons by 3 p.m. with all of the updated figures from last week's meeting? And also, copy me in. Now, how would we do this in a basic situation, like something at home? A sloppy request would sound something like, I need you to help out more around here. Pretty vague. The clean way. Can you take the bins out on Monday night before 8 p.m.? Because what it does is it saves us having to remember early in the next morning when we're rushing to get the kids ready for school. Notice the differences between those three examples? They're all clear. Each one of them names an action. They all have a time frame, a specific time frame, and they all have a criteria. So if you want people to follow through, then give them a map, not a riddle. Here's where people get caught. They think they made a request, but what they actually did was hope someone would pick up the signal telepathically. This is what I meant to say. Well, you didn't say it. And then comes the classic line. Well, they should have known. No, they shouldn't have. They're not a mind reader. They're probably just as overwhelmed themselves, making their own sloppy requests out there in the world. And it's why you're both possibly living in a breakdown loop, openly arguing or passively avoiding. Ultimately, the real breakdown lives in the lack of clarity when asking. So here's your challenge for the week. Stop assuming people will figure it all out. Number 2, notice where you're hinting instead of requesting. And practice making one clean request per day, following the 5 steps, especially 3, 4, and 5. I don't think you're going to have a problem with 1 or 2. You're going to be shocked how much more smoother life runs with this one shift if you take the action. Your life might be one clear request away from less stress, less conflict, and a lot more momentum. So start now. But here's the kicker. Making the request is only half the game. I spoke about that earlier. The other half is how people respond. And most people have no idea that there are 4 legitimate responses, and how avoiding them leads to a slippery promise, which then ruins trust fast. These responses are very simple. I ran through them earlier. We all use them. However, I don't believe people respond with them intentionally, or they don't ask for a request, listening for those responses. Together, they make a wonderful linguistic dance, void of confusion and expectation. So in the next video, I'm going to break down the 4 valid responses to a request, what they are, how to use them, and why maybe, or a thumbs up emoji, or even silence just doesn't cut it. If you found this interesting, subscribe and follow so you can stay up to date on this series focused around the 6 speaking habits, otherwise known as Basic Linguistic Acts. We're just getting started, as requests is the first one off the block. This is functional chaos, taking the complexity out of ontology so you can learn and apply it right away to change your interpretations and way of being. I'm Filimon, and the final message is learn to say what you want or keep getting what you get. And lastly, take what you will.